this analysis, we will be exploring the justifications and similarities between the Spanish conquest of the Americas and the transatlantic slave trade. The beginnings of the Spanish oppression of the American natives can be attributed to Christopher Columbus's discovery of the Americas. Soon after this, a flood of Spaniard conquistadors packed their ships to go claim land in the name of God and the king. Soon after, it was realized the natives had few choices but to comply or be killed. By simply making this awful demonstration of power, it led to the Spanish mindset of racial superiority, thus leading to entrapment in labor camps called encomiendas. This is where intimidation, beatings, killings via disease or hand, and hard labor came to be. With this expendable labor mindset, it was easy for the Spanish to justify this terror. One of the forefrontal arguments to defend this unjust treatment of the natives was this notion of racial superiority. According to Rochelle Marinin, in her analysis of the novel Surviving the Spanish Conquest, she explains, this observation convinced Spaniards that natives weren't capable of achieving civilized life. This is further exemplified in that the natives were replaced as they died off by African slaves. The Christianization of natives was another defense. As Sepulveda so graciously put, it is written in the book of Proverbs, he who is stupid will serve the wise man. And so it is with the barbarous and inhumane peoples who have no civil life or peaceful customs. As aforementioned, natives were slowly replaced by African slaves in the Americas. The roots of African slavery came about with the demand of labor. Tough crops to grow, such as sugarcane, combined with hot climate and hard labor, became quite unpopular with indentured servants. Not only that, but they served terms, and they weren't permanent solutions to this problem. Slaves were the solution. People in Africa were incentivized to sell slaves, oftentimes swiping people away from their villages or homes to sell into the trade. In turn, they were given items of high value, like alcohol and guns. Once on the ship, conditions were brutal. Slaves were stacked to the max in the boat, beaten, starved, and sometimes drowned at sea. Needless to say, many died at sea before ever reaching brutal life that would await them on the shore. Though there's seemingly no justification for slavery, the people of the early Americas found a way to justify it. The main argument was on the matter of the economy. Slaves did work that earned owners big money with little labor and just an investment at the slaves when they were first purchased. It also created immense product to trade. This led to the massive packing of ships, as outlined in many disturbing diagrams. Nicholas Radburn and David Eltis dissected one of these diagrams, creating what they claimed doesn't capture the degree to which enslaved people were crowded on the Brooks or in any majority of the other British slaving vessels. By saying there were even more slaves than depicted, this shows just how justified they were within this society. Slaves were a commodity to the economy in these views. Racial superiority again also makes an appearance and plays a role in Edmund Morgan's American Slavery, American Freedom. Slaves are described as being picked due in fact that legislation could offer a substitute for color, but not for economical status. Many commonalities exist between the Spanish conquest and the transatlantic slave trade. The main overarching theme is this notion of native people being exploited and entrenched in the systems for the benefit of those terrorizing them. Routine was killer, as hard labor in both the encomiendas and the plantations was highly enforced and the everyday norm. Mass roundups would relocate people to these hard labor institutions in massive troves. Intimidation with a join-or-die mentality was common in both, giving slaves with little choice or say in the matter. Beatings were more than routine, often resulting in death or permanent damage. Most often, in both studies, killing was the ultimate terror tool. De las Casas talks about slavery, depicted in the quote, "Drench the Americas in human blood, killing 1,000 million of them. They do everything in their power to obtain further license to continue their conquest," which can apply greatly to both case studies.